you get into surfing? Like, was that,
Uh,
where are you from?
I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina,
Okay, yeah.
and so I've lived on the ocean my whole life. And I always, even from a young age, before I really even did it, I just felt like it was something that I really wanted to do, that it captivated me. And even before I could really do it, I was buying the magazines and reading the articles and obsessed with the pictures of these beautiful waves. And like, I think like the adventure aspect of it is what's so amazing for me, knowing that there's always another place that I could go to experience that place through the lens of surfing, whether it's the
Yeah.
cultures, the people, what's underneath the water, the fishing, the diving, but like using this idea of adventuring to a place to try to find new waves or to experience a really special wave that may already be there, as something that like endlessly captivates me. And
Yeah.
like most things in life, the better at them you get, the more fun they become and the more they open up your world. So this is something that seems to never end, and there's
Yeah.
always something about it that can get me excited. And then of course just the sensation of riding a wave is really special, but I think what keeps me so excited about it is how dynamic it can be in terms of exploring. So getting
Yeah.
out into wild places, which is what I love the most, and sharing special experiences in the water with close friends or family. Those
Have
are like the
you,
greatest things I
where's,
do in my life.
where's the, so what's your favorite wave?
I would say the two most special experiences I've had in surfing in recent memory, I'd say Jeffreys Bay in South Africa, which is like every surfer knows this wave. It's like the best right point break arguably in the world. I got to go there in 2017, and that was a bit serendipitous because we were there doing shark research, but a massive swell hit and it was way too big to do any stuff on the shark boats. And we were about 3.5 hours from Jeffreys Bay. So we said, well, the waves are too big. We can't go on the boat. There's one thing we can do is go surfing. So we got to drive up there. It was this like 24-hour swell event and it was perfect. Like, you know, 9 out of 10 quality. And it was just this one little window day that I had that I wasn't even there on a surf trip. And it ended up being like one of the best days of surf in my life. So that was spectacular. And then getting to go to, I took my dad to French Polynesia for his 70th birthday last year. And we went to Chopu, or Teahupo as the locals call it there, which is like one of the most famous waves in the world. And got to surf that at like a reasonable like entry level size for someone who has not surfed that wave before.
What's the dimensions of the open face of the wave?
It was probably like, it was like 6 to 10 foot faces that day, and really glassy and beautiful and barreling, and just the most spectacularly beautiful place you can imagine. And the raw power of the ocean there is unlike anything I've experienced before. And getting to watch some of these local kids just toy with it was pretty amazing. And then for some reason they all got out and we had it to ourselves for about 45 minutes.
Wow.
And that was still during like full on pandemic travel times. Like we had to go through a lot of hoops to get there. And so it was really uncrowded. So kind of a little window in time that's now closed. But it was the most adrenaline I've felt in the water, I think, would have been that experience. And I will definitely never forget it.
How has surfing kind of like empowered you and helped you like navigate in your business and building Sharkbanz as a brand and a company?
That's a good question. I think like for many triathletes and anybody who's an athlete that's pushing themselves, surfing can be something just like riding a bike or swimming, can be something that's very like leisurely and relaxing, or it can be a really intense experience that pushes you to your limits. So for me, I do both versions of that. But I think the parts of surfing that I love the most are the times that I'm pushing my edges and experiencing a moment that was the culmination of everything that I've done up to this point in the training and the experience and all the hours of paddling and catching and riding waves that allowed me to achieve riding this new wave, this bigger wave, and putting myself in that position and in making it and saying, okay, wow, I did that. I did something I didn't think that I could do. And certainly like 5 years ago, like there's no way I could have even imagined doing that. And I think the same thing happens in business, and surfing over the years has gone hand in hand with that, where I have this sort of reinforcement, this physical test and physical and mental test. And then you carry that over into business in a way that is mostly a mental test. And and you push yourself beyond what you thought was possible. And there's been really challenging moments in this business, and you just keep pushing through them, and you think about the lessons that your mentors have taught you. You look at others in other businesses and what their stories are. You listen to podcasts like this and you hear great stories from people that faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable, and they figured out how to solve that problem. And I think surfing also teaches you very quick twitch reactions and problem solving in the moment. And that's been something I think I've always had a knack for, which is I think most people who have started and run a successful small business know that you're not going to know the answer to everything, and you have to problem solve and figure stuff out, and in a way that you're not an expert at these skills. You have to learn new skills constantly, and you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think surfing teaches you that too, how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You're going to get pounded. You're going to be underneath the water, not being able to breathe, and you might hit the bottom. You might get hit in the head with your board. You might see a very large shark. you have to keep your cool in all of those moments, because if you panic, then nothing good will ever come from that. And I think the same thing happens in business, certainly in one like this, where any small business, especially dealing with pandemic stuff, I mean, wow, in March 2020, our business went down like 97% in like
really.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, what are we gonna do here? And that's a long story of its own.
It was hard. I mean, and even if you're, what did you do in the pandemic when things went south?
Right. I mean, I feel like that's
how did you pivot?
I feel like there should be a book and a podcast that just goes specifically to everyone who is running small businesses and collecting stories. I'm sure there's probably already exists, but collecting
it takes 3 years to do a book, so it might not be out yet. It'll be called The Pivot.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing those. The Big Pivot.
How to pivot.
We'll start seeing those come out pretty soon here, and I'll definitely be buying those and reading them. And I think a lot of people will hear stories of some very creative and heroic things that people pulled off to not go under. I mean,
there'll be a class in like colleges. No, for you. Yeah.
I mean, for us, it was the craziest experience I've had in my life. We had this manufacturing network that I spoke to in China, and they actually came to us and said, hey, we've put together a network of medical supply company of factories that can make medical equipment, and we're now making it, and we realize that there's this huge shortage of this. Do you have any clients in your country that would want this? And 7 or 8 of the lockdown when it happened, whatever that was, like March 18th or something.
Yeah.
And we had to act like instantaneously, and it was either like, do we want to go down this road or not? And we went for it. Ended up supplying tons of medical equipment to the one of the big hospital systems in Charleston, South Carolina, and got them a ton of stuff that they needed that nobody else could get them, which was like, how were we the people that did that? You know, it was like,
that's amazing though.
Sort of pinch you moment. And there was this whole, Boeing actually flew for free a bunch of the stuff from China, landed it in Charleston at their headquarters, and then the governor and all the politicians from South Carolina came out, held this big press conference in front of all of the medical equipment that had been landed on the runways, all on these pallets. And we're watching this on TV and seeing pictures of it on all these major news websites. And the stuff that we brought was like sitting behind them. And it was this like completely surreal moment. Of course, nobody mentions who had anything to do with like really getting it there, like zero credit. And I don't even want any of the credit. Yeah. I'm like, you know, don't even give me the credit. I don't even care. But
yeah,
knowing that like our small team of 3-4 people somehow managed to pull that off, and that's basically what saved our business. It was quite a moment.